to order. Clint, would you mind giving us invocation, please?
Yeah. Let's pray. Lord, we come to you thanking you for this opportunity to come together to improve our community. Please bless our citizens and city leadership and give this committee guidance and understanding in all matters discussed. In your name, amen.
Would you please stand with me for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Roll call, please.
Chairman Jackson.
Here.
Vice Chair Knight.
Here.
Commissioner Horner.
Here.
Commissioner Newsom.
Here.
Commissioner Kerr.
First order of business is consent items. Consideration and approval for Planning Commission meeting minutes on 7/2/24.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Newsom.
Yes.
Commissioner Horner.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight.
Yes.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes. Moving to the public hearings portion. 5A, consideration and approval for replat and rezone request at 3424 Sunnyside Road. Mr. Cottrell, are you the volunteer today?
Yes, sir, I am.
Hey, thank you for serving. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, Sunnyside, we are looking at a rezone replat. Rezone from A1 to R1. The surrounding property, it abuts R1 to the north. West, south, and east are all A1. He is looking to replat and rezone this to put 3 houses for his children on. Subject property is almost 4 acres. The lots for his daughters will be 75 by 100, which meets size and frontage requirements. Application has letter RWD5 stating they can supply water. It will be septic for all 3 houses.
Can we put up page 11 of the PDF up on the screen, please? Yeah, that's it. Thanks. So I know you're filling in, so if we ask any questions and the answer is I don't know, that's okay. We still may have some for you, but I did want to clarify. So lot 4, it looks like, which is the bigger tract, the easement on the south is with lot 4, correct?
Correct, yeah. That is the current, lot 4 is the current property that's there now.
But the easement to the south is staying with it?
Yes.
So
That is
mine
for
is a little
Oklahoma.
bit blurry. Are you able to tell what that width is?
It's Oklahoma Natural Gas. They have an easement through there. It has been verified that they're okay with the properties being done, just as long as there's no building done on the easement for the gas line.
Is that 65 feet?
Let me look at this.
I don't know if you can read it. It's a little bit blurry on mine, so.
Oh, mine's even smaller. I believe it says 50 foot wide is the width of the right of way there. That's Oklahoma Natural Gas and so 50 foot wide for the Oklahoma Natural Gas, and XTO is 30 foot wide.
No, it's in the packet. The current zoning for this is.
Currently zoned A1. The neighborhood there to the north is R1.
And so they're wanting to rezone lot 4 as R1 as well?
That I was not aware of. Because lot 4 is zoned A1.
So our minimum, the reason I'm asking for two reasons. One is our lot size for ag, the minimum on that is 5 acres.
Yes,
And also, if we're rezoning to R1, the frontage that's required is 70. So you
Correct.
might have a combined 70 with, you have the 24, looks like 85 on the north side and 65 possibly on the south side. But that 70 should be,
all one area.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
So that's the reason I'm asking.
I don't have any notes on the lot 4 being asked. I knew about the 3 lots, but I don't have anything indicating about lot 4.
Okay.
So they could utilize, I mean, I don't know what their address is currently stated as, but they could utilize Sunnyside Road on the south side as frontage.
Yes, I do believe that was discussed. I think with the right-of-ways run through there, there's still an entrance to that side of the property.
Would they, do you know, and this would probably be described in their easement, or actually it probably wouldn't be, but would they be allowed to build a driveway over that easement? I mean, typically the answer would be yes, but I'm just,
I believe so.
you know.
I know when just from my experience from my past job with the right-of-ways, you are still able to do drives across them. It just comes down to the impact that's
Yeah.
going to be on that line. So
What's the purpose of that 24-foot strip on the north side?
what is it?
That 24-foot strip on the north side, what's the purpose of it?
It's currently a driveway that accesses the house on lot 4.
That's where their current driveway is
Yeah.
for lot 4, yeah.
This was all one solid track. He lives pretty deep within lot 4. It sets off the road pretty good. And then he's wanting to divide up the 3 front lots.
Shane, thanks for pointing out the sunny side. That I'm just pulling it up on Google Earth. That would work for frontage. Are there any other questions for staff?
No.
Is the applicant present? Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against? Any discussion? I'll just add, I'm okay with rezone and replat as long as all 4 lots are rezoned R1.
I agree. This is one motion, it's not 2 separate pieces, is it? Replat and rezone, okay. Are you ready for a motion?
Sure.
I'll make a motion to approve the replat and the rezone with the addition that Drew just added, that make sure all 4 properties are R1, rezoned to R1.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Newsom,
Yes.
Commissioner Horner,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knight,
Yes.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes. 5B, consideration and approval of a rezone request at 309 West Louisiana Street.
Okay. Consider a request for a rezone request of property located near 319 West Louisiana Street. It is R3 to the north, west, south, and east are all residential 2. Applicant desires to build multifamily concept, should it pass the rezone. I believe on this one, we are, he's looking to do a replat if the rezone is approved. And he is looking to go from R2 to R3 in order to build the multifamily units.
I noticed there's a discrepancy in the packet versus the agenda. One says 319, one says 309. Do you know which we published by chance?
I do not have that information. I've got rezone request of property near 319, so it probably is 309 is probably the.
Whitney,
Yeah,
I may have a question for you on that. So the agenda has 309, our packet has 319 as an address. Do we need to republish?
Who did the actual notice get mailed out to?
I didn't do that. I don't remember off the top of my head if it was 309 or 319.
So that's gonna be kind of a critical factor, because if we mailed out notice to the neighbors around the 309 as opposed to the 319, they're not gonna be the same neighbors. There may be some overlap, but not completely, and I think you're gonna have to republish and.
Yeah, on the application here, I'm getting a 124 West Louisiana.
124?
Yeah,
Okay.
the street frontage is one, it says 124.
Is the applicant here?
Yeah.
Would you mind coming and state your name for us, please? Thank you.
You can call me Phil, last name De La Sujol. It should be 319 Louisiana. There's no house there or mailbox, so you know there's not a specific address, a mailing address for that property. The 300-foot, I believe, mailing list was done on based on just the lot and the location of the lot within the block. So it didn't really go off the address.
Do you know if that location has been assigned a 911 address at any point in time?
I don't know that.
It's 319 on the legals. Just,
On the, I believe on the deed, yeah.
Oh, I don't know about what was published. I'm saying the address of that piece of property is, the 911 address is 319.
Oh, okay, yeah. This is 319.
I don't know what was published.
319's on the modern, the abstract.
So it looks like it may have just been the agenda that was different then.
So, I mean, the real question is if it's a Scrivener's error or whether it's a fundamental error. When you're dealing with addresses, especially numerical addresses, that's a problem. So,
It says 319 on the replat, rezone request. Where did the other number, did anyone see a 309?
Our agenda says 309.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Could we turn my mic down just a little bit? When I turn it on, I'm getting feedback in the room.
Do we have the ability to just proceed as if it was published correctly? And then if there's a motion, it would be contingent upon?
yeah, I would say that Mr. Markham's probably gonna have to do a little bit of research on that to determine whether that's gonna fall on the line of a scrivener's error, or whether it's gonna be something, but I think we could hear it, since we're recommendation, I think we could make it contingent on.
Did you get an answer?
Mr. Chair, she's going to go with right
Oh.
now. She can't pull it up from her computer. Within the system, I go through verify it in but she can't go check properly.
Okay, I think we're gonna, proceed, and if there's a motion, it'll be contingent on that issue. Thank you. Mr. Cottrell, if I cut you off, my apologies.
You're fine. I was, looking through this, trying to see the publication. Thought it might shine some light on what address was posted. I'm just getting a lot and block description.
If you had any more, presentation on it, we'll hear that. Otherwise, we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, we can put that one out for questions.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Any questions for the applicant?
I have some questions. I don't know if it may be staff or it may be the applicant. So and I'm going by the site plan that was drawn, that was provided for us to look at. Have you looked to see if this is possible to fit on this lot with the setbacks and parking requirements and all that?
Yeah, we spent quite a bit of time making sure, what we want to build would meet all the setback requirements, and all the parking requirements, and, all the codes. And we're not set on any particular design, so
Yeah.
if we do need to wiggle it around,
Sure.
that wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Daniel DeLasujo. My husband is actually the applicant.
Ma'am, if you don't mind, would you step to the microphone so we can pick you up on audio? Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I didn't
Thank
think
you.
it was that big of a room. I thought it was louder. I'm Banyan de la Sujol. Xavier de la Sujol is my husband, and this is his brother Phil. We're all partners in this. I am the one that drew and put all the scale to that.
Yeah.
That is a rough demonstration with a scale to it, but we're willing. Our main goal here is not to get as many properties as possible onto the plot. We don't really want to do that. We want to create kind of a comfortable, multifamily environment. That's what we want. So what I've drawn on there, kind of like, I think I drew 7 on one of them.
Yeah.
If that's not going to work and be comfortable, we're going to do a lot less than that.
Gotcha.
That's kind of our plan.
Yeah.
And
So
we
there's
have
a-
looked with a lot of like he said, we don't have a set model yet,
Mhm.
but it's whatever's going to look best, be the most comfortable, and
Sure. So, and this doesn't have anything to do with what we're looking at tonight, but, so there is a spot in our ordinances that says a multifamily development on less than 3 acres with an R3 zoning classification is a restricted use. So what that means is that a restricted use would end up coming back to planning and zoning and ultimately city council for approval.
yeah, that sounds great.
So, and at that point, you would have to actually
Yeah.
show your site plans and.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
good
We're
stuff.
still in the process. We're looking daily, trying to find out what's going to work best. What we
Gotcha.
have presented to you is a beautiful crude dream.
Yeah. No, the drawing looks great.
Thank you. I did it myself.
Just for the record, staff is indicating that publication was correct, so.
Oh, perfect. So there's an alley shown on the east side, kind of between the blocks. Are you guys, that alley does not currently exist in any sort of form other than legal form?
Just dirt, yeah.
So are you guys planning to, I see on your drawing where you have the alley and some back access to the property. Are you planning to pave that, or?
Most likely.
Okay,
Yeah, we are planning to pave that with city approval, of course.
okay, okay.
Ma'am, if you don't mind, we'll have an opportunity for you to come to the mic and ask questions as well. Thank you. Can we put, sorry, page 21? Thanks. I just had the question. So obviously there's R3 across the street. Is there any concern for spot zoning?
I don't think it's really spot zoning since we do have R3 so close. But I do have a little bit of a question in my own mind if that's a good extension of the R3 across the street when there's a pretty clear line of R2 there, so. But no, I mean, I don't think it's spot zoning.
I don't have a lot of heartburn over that either, since it is so close, and since our future land use map currently shows all that to be low to medium density, even in the future. So I think I'd be okay with that as well.
But to clarify, be okay with which?
I'd be okay with it being R3.
Is there any other comments that you'd like to make? Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to comment either for or against? If you would, please come to the microphone and state your name. We are recording and publishing online, so we need to get everybody on a microphone if you don't mind. So this one is 319 West Louisiana.
Okay, that's not the one I'm concerned about.
Okay.
Mine's for on West Mississippi. And
Okay.
they're the same people.
Yeah, we're not
Okay.
there yet. Yes, ma'am.
Thank
All right, thank you. So, is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against? Any discussion? Is there a motion?
So these three projects are all one big project. Am I understanding that correctly, or do we have three separate projects?
Separate.
Okay, then no, I'm good with that.
Yeah, so same applicant, different locations. Yeah. Same general theme. Yeah. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
You have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Horner,
No.
Commissioner Newsom,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
No.
Chairman Knight,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Jackson.
No. So this is, just to remind everybody, this is a recommending board. So the recommendation goes to City Council. City Council is the one with the authority, makes the decision. They will meet next week at 6 o'clock, so next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. 5C, consideration and approval for a rezone request for West Alabama Street and South 2nd Avenue. This one is for Alabama.
Alrighty, South Second and West Alabama. Current zone is residential 2. They're requesting to rezone to residential 3 for multifamily units. It is R2 to the north and west, commercial 2 to the south. East is railroad. Similar to the last property, they're wanting to rezone in order to build multifamily units on the property.
Thank you. Is there any questions for staff?
Is there something on the lot that maybe we're not seeing that would make it oddly shaped? It's just noted that it's an oddly. Unless we're looking at the wrong thing.
The only thing I'm noticing is that at the back of the property toward the railroad tracks, it's got a slight slant, but nothing to.
Yeah, okay, okay, I just wanna make sure we're on the same page there.
So do they own that strip on Alabama between them and the street, or is that, how are they gonna get to this piece of property?
That I am unaware of. I believe there was one of these that had a access problem.
Well, hold on. Before you tell us this, we've gotta have you by a microphone, so.
I'm not real sure what y'all talking about. I'm confused about the area, because in Alabama, I live on Mississippi, corner of First and Mississippi. Is that about where you talking about?
No, this one.
If you don't mind,
My name is Linda Clampett. I live.
we have a time for public questions. If you would give us a minute till we get to that point.
Okay, I'm just trying to clarify this one.
Okay.
There are a couple options that we're looking at. If it's one big lot, it would be a First Avenue address, and that would be the main access. And there's still an alleyway on the north side of that property there. South of the lot is just a creek, drainage creek. One option is to build a bridge.
I do
for the
believe,
driveway.
is there not access to that property on First Street, on South First? Is there a drive?
There is a driveway, yeah. There is a driveway. It's just dirt, but.
Yeah.
Is there anything R3 in this area at all?
No, ma'am.
So why would this not be spot zoning?
To my understanding, it would be.
Are we able to pull up like the Google Earth zoning on the screen or no? Okay. Thanks. We need to have it pulled up on mine if you want to look at it.
Well, no, I am looking at it. That
Oh,
was why I
okay.
wanted to clarify if what I thought I saw and what I was seeing was in fact the same thing, so.
Just a personal request from staff when we put the packet together and we show the existing zoning maps. If we could zoom out a little bit so that we can see a little more of the surrounding area, I think that may help a little bit. Any other questions for staff? Any questions for the applicant? Is there anything you'd like to say?
I guess the next request you'll see is another lot just to the north, pretty much connected with the alley. That we're requesting R3 as well. So as to the spot zoning point, I guess we would have a big spot zoned R3, but it wouldn't be just one lot.
Gotcha.
And north of Mississippi is that industrial, I think it's a grow house, big warehouse. So it's the closest R3 is a little bit away, but it's not all just R2 in that area. There's some mixed use a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone who'd like to speak for or against? Sure, if you would come to the microphone for us. Thank you.
First of all, I need to give each one of you this. I got this from the police department, and I made the calls after they gave me one. And we are wanting to cite the problems that we have already down there, and doing three in the. We already have a problem with the things that are going on down there. And R3, putting that many together, and they do not, the alley's the only access to that except for you go the creek. And what the creek's for is the runoff from the city going through and down. And the police we give them so much credit for what they do for us. They are down there. They police that area. We are so thankful for that. But they already have a handful of what they have to take care of without adding more problems. And these people do not live here. They live in Texas. And they're very nice. I met the brother, your husband. He's very nice. He came over and gave his name and everything. But when I started looking around, I found out that we are R2, and we were never given letters, and it happened in the 80s. We were never, I've been on that property for 54 years. My parents owned it since 1954. And they gave me the property and built me a house there. And I've been there ever since. I've been very fortunate to live in Durant. I was fortunate to be able to teach in Durant 42 years. But these people have been really nice. They're developing here. They're coming in here and buying and developing. Well, I drove around also to see some of the properties in that over there. There have been R2s and R3s. It's very, and some of those were owned by local people, and they don't keep them up. If the local people don't keep them up well, what are they going to do with three all together, smashed together? And they're going to have problems. The poor policemen, it's going to be even more for them. And I am objecting to R3. I live there. I see it. I know what's going on. And I would like very much your consideration to think about how they're jammed up. And there's going to be, the only access is the alley. And that's not a road. And on the other side is that creek. No access. Unless you're going to build something, I don't know how they're going to build it to access it. The front lot he's talking about is narrow, and where are they going to park? And they already were told that they have to be 15 feet from one fence and from 15 from the other. I don't know how they're gonna build a R3 there. I just pray that you will think about this for the people that will be renting. It's not right for so many to be jammed together. It's not right for the police department. I mean, I'm old and I know they think that I'm eccentric, but I'm not. I still am concerned about the city. I was on the beautification committee for Durant under Mr. Bunce. I worked on different areas for Mr. Dunnigan, and I worked with Donna Dow when she was doing the city. I care about Durant, and I do serve in any capacity that I can to help Durant grow and do better. But I don't want it to be a slum area. It's already bad enough for that. We already have that. It's bad over there. It's not good. And I don't want, it's not that I object to what they're doing, but who's going to take care of that property? Who's going to maintain it? And who's going to know the people that they rent to and what kind of background they have or anything? I appreciate anything you can do to help us to just keep it to the R2, because that's already done. I can't help that. They did not send us letters, but I do appreciate your sending us letters and letting us know about this. And I have nothing against you and what you're doing. I promise. But I do not think that R3 should be done in that area, which is already has problems. And I would appreciate your consideration in this. And thank you for your time. And I thank you for serving on this committee.
Thank you, appreciate it. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? If you would state your name at the microphone for us.
My name is Linda Clampett. I live on the corner of First and Mississippi. And the front part of that is 70 foot of Lot 3, because I own 30 foot of Lot 3. I own Lot 1, 2, and 30 foot of Lot. That's my family's house. I've lived there 65 years. And where they talking about is the old barn back there where we used to run cows, and there's no entrance off of Alabama. That's where I was confused. All you got is an alley behind my house, and like Miss Helen said, we've got trouble. I quit work for Choctaw because I worked overnights, and they tried to burn my house down at 3 o'clock in the morning while I was at work. We have nothing but trouble there already. You know, like I said, appreciate your time, and I'm sorry I got confused a while ago because that Alabama Street confused me, because I've been there all my life, and there's no exit, you know, or entrance there. And that my mom gave the city of Durant the easement for that creek. They're on Alabama, you know, we all call it Alabama. You know, I appreciate y'all's consideration. Thank y'all very much.
Yep, thank you. Give me just 1 second. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against? Ma'am, if you would come to the microphone. Thank you.
Hello again. I guess I should face this way. Banya de la Sujol again. I just kind of wanted to make it clear what our intentions were, and I guess what our ties are to Durant. So my husband and I are both pilots, and our third date was out of Durant Airport. We went flying together. I've done a lot of flight training out of Durant. When I was a flight instructor, I brought students in and out of Durant. A designated pilot examiner, a very famous one named Kyle, actually works out of Durant, so I'm very, very familiar with the airport and the area as a whole. We'd go to the Opera House and get coffee, you know, right after the flight lessons and everything, so we care about the city of Durant. And our goal is not to jam people into a property. That's not what we're looking for at all. We care about the area, and we know exactly the trouble that everyone's talking about. We've seen that. I've lived in apartments all my life, and actually I just moved from Denver, so I lived there for 2 years with the airline I was based with, and every single morning when I would go to work, I would see the homeless people lining the streets. And I'm not joking. I would see them putting needles in arms and stuff, and I actually left Denver because of that. I grew up in Texas, so I was happy to come back. But seeing that trouble again here, that's disheartening. I care a lot about making a good place to live and bringing in good people. I'm actually a property manager part-time for my brother-in-law, and that was my goal, was to run background checks, to have good renters and good people contributing to the community. That is our goal. It's not to jam people onto a property, and I totally understand that concern, and that doesn't help anybody, does it? So we want a good community. We want things that add to the community. So I 100% understand what you're saying, and I know that it's kind of hard to believe me. I see you shaking your head, and that's okay. But I just wanted to make clear what our intention was. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Is there any discussion?
Oh, I'm good, Woody.
So, I mean, this is kind of a catch-22 for communities because, truthfully, quite frankly, the south side of Durant, it's problematic. I mean, it is. And in order to make that community better, you need people to invest in it. You need people to build nicer houses and for nicer, a nicer category of people to move in. The downside is if you have an R3, that requires a whole lot of faith and a whole lot of trust that what's going to go in there is going to be a good project to meet the needs for that area. R3 gives a lot of latitude for what can be built there, and an apartment complex or something like that on the south side of town, the chances that it's going to stay nice long term, that's going to be hard to manage. My problem with this is not so much necessarily what they want to do, because, I mean, the project itself sounds good. They've drafted up nice plans. I mean, my concern is not really with their connection to the community or anything like that or what their actual plan is. My concern with this is, especially with this part of the project, this could not be any clearer than, I mean, this is spot zoning. This is exactly what this is. And whether it's one chunk or two chunks, there's nothing else there that is R3. Everything else is R2. So for me, that's a huge problem. And I'm not opposed to building up the infrastructure, making it nice, having nicer house options on that side of town, because quite frankly, until you get that, you're going to keep having the riffraff that's there. But this is spot zoning. I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at.
I probably will add to that, and there is probably a reason why I voted no on the last project, and I probably will not likely vote yes on this project. Is partly because of spot zoning, but I do like y'all's project. I do like the look. It looks great. There is nothing wrong with it. It's just probably not in the right location. As far as property management, it's just going to take one bad tenant to really change that environment. And so if you're looking at a multifamily, a duplex or something like that, will probably be work. But once you get into if you got 6 or 7 units on this project and you got one bad tenant, you're going to have 6 bad tenants, and that doesn't help these neighbors right here. So that's probably what I'm looking at, is that maybe a lower impact might be the best solution, but changing the neighborhood is what you need to be doing, and I thank you for that attempt.
I'd say from my point of view, simply go back to, doing the best to follow the rules, follow the ordinance, follow the guidelines, across the board for everyone who comes in here. And in my mind, this is spot zoning, and so I can't really consider it further than that. So with that, I'll hear any motions.
Motion to deny.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Newsom,
So to clarify, the motion is to deny? Correct. So yes, vote is to deny? Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Horner,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight,
Yes.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes, so the recommendation is to deny the request. 5D, consideration approval of rezone request for West Mississippi Street and South Second Avenue. Do we need to hear the presentation on this one?
It is pretty much right in line with the last one. It would be, from what I can see, it would be spot zoning.
I would say as long as we open it up, if there's any extra additional comments about this particular piece of property.
But this one, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this one, they're just looking to do a duplex. They're just needing R3 for the lot size requirements.
Okay, so I'll open up if the applicants would like to speak.
So, yes, I understand the spot zoning. This would be the same. Everything else is R2. It's just that this particular lot is 10 feet too narrow to meet duplex for R2 zoning. So we're just asking, you know, if we can change to R3, then we can build a duplex with the current width of the lot. So,
Thank you, appreciate it. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against? Any discussion?
I have a discussion item.
Sure.
I understand what they're trying to do, and I approve of what you're trying to do. As far as the development, I don't think R3 is right, so I'll go ahead and get that off the table. But would this scenario that they're facing with this particular lot not be an item for Board of Adjustment?
What's the hardship?
Well, the hardship is that they've got a lot that was zoned R2 back in the 80s, and then it was changed from what I could find in 2019. It was sliced off to be 70 feet.
And when did they come into possession?
Oh, I don't know when they came into possession. Recently, yeah. So my thinking would be a hardship would be that this was zoned R2 and approved as a sale of a lot that was too small to meet an R2 requirement. So I mean that would be a hardship in my eyes. But there is also the option in an R2 to build a single family with the current dimensions.
I'm in agreement. I think there should be some alternative here. I mean, I don't think the R3 is the fix or the correction.
I agree, yeah.
But there should be an alternative available to them to say, hey, we've got an R2 lot, we want to do an R2 purpose, but this isn't going to be done. Now, whether or not it's Board of Adjustment, I don't know, but I don't think R3 is the solution. And I don't think we can fix it through this board.
I agree. I do think we've run into this type of scenario before where we have older lots or lots downtown that don't necessarily meet the correct widths of our current standards. So I agree that it would be nice for these folks to be able to do something, whether that is a single family home or a duplex. I don't know the route to point them in other than Board of Adjustment from my knowledge, because I don't think R3 is the answer for the neighborhood.
I think the only concern for me that brings is, they're buying the lot with that understanding of what the lot dimensions are and what the use is. And if they didn't, it's still a buyer beware. So how far back are we going to go with the way that things maybe should have been, could have been, to make exceptions? And so,
I think that's a very
in my opinion, the fact that they bought it knowing what it is and knowing what the use is that's by definition not a hardship.
I think that's a very valid argument.
someone else to decide?
Well, and ultimately what it comes down to is we're not the board with that philosophy, and we're not the city council making that final decision. So that's outside the scope of our argument.
That's why I said for someone else to decide, so my opinion's not worth much. Is there any other discussion? How about a motion?
I'll make a motion to deny. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please call for a vote.
Commissioner Newsom,
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr,
Yes.
Commissioner Horner,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight,
Yes.
Chairman Jackson.
Yes. So the recommendation will be to deny the request. 5E, consideration and approval for rezone request at 820 East Main Street. Mr. Cottrell.
We have a property, it is currently a church zoned commercial, C3. They're looking to rezone it to R3 to convert that church to a single-family home. It is R3 to the north, commercial to the east, commercial to the south, and R3 to the west. Applicant desires to live in the church building and convert it, the lot, into a resident or residential use. Notifications have been made to the surrounding properties and report and not received any letters or phone calls regarding this request.
Paul, do you know if is the owner planning to make this a single family home?
That is what I've been told.
Okay.
I was told once the rezone was allowed, we hear that?
He's here, yeah.
That we would move forward with building plans after that.
Okay.
So I am curious on, at least the way I'm looking at it, it looks like the staff recommendation is blank. So did the staff have a recommendation, or?
I've actually recommended that this one be approved.
So is this structure gonna be tore down and rebuilt?
I believe just converted. Am I correct on that? Yeah.
Any other questions for staff? Mr. Couch, would you like to speak? Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Couch?
I do have a question for you. So if you're planning to build your home here versus some sort of multifamily deal, if you're planning to, or convert this church to a home, I guess I should say, whether you tear it down or convert it, would you be willing to take an R1 designation versus an R3?
Explain what that is.
So
Yeah, it's just personal home for my wife and I.
okay, so
And my
a
dog.
personal kind of standalone single-family home
Yes.
would typically fall in an R1
That's fine.
zoning classification for Durant, and I know that you're surrounded by R3, but our future use land map, when you look at that, it shows that area being residential.
Yes.
So I think with your particular use, and considering all the uses to the west of you are single-family homes currently,
Yes.
it would make more sense to me for that to be R1 versus R3. And I know there's the idea that that could be a spot zone, but I think when we look at it in terms of future land use, we would be moving towards what the future land use suggests for that area. I just
R1's
wanted to
fine
know if
with
that
me.
would be something you would be up for. so
R1's
that's-
fine with me. We just want a home there.
Sure.
And we're just gonna remodel it.
Okay.
And I guess, we've had the church there for several years and grown, and there's just not enough room to park, and the kids, it's kind of a dangerous little spot. And so we've already got another church, excuse me, and so we came together and, church, well, we'll make this into our personal home. That's a great idea. Well, then we had to rezone.
Sure,
But,
sure.
but R1's fine, it's just gonna be my wife and I's home till we die, I guess.
Till it's not?
But, it'll be nice and beautified, it's already brick,
Sure,
you know,
sure.
and so, but R1's fine with me.
I don't have a problem with your use at all. I think it's a fantastic idea. We just gotta figure out how to,
Whatever
make-
you guys decide, that'll be
Sure.
fine with me.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against? Is there any discussion?
I'm a little conflicted about this one because it has the feel of spot zoning if we drop it in as an R1. But the reality is, this is part of that swath that they just came in and rezoned as a blanket, and the zoning that they gave it didn't fit anything in that neighborhood. Because literally last month or the month before, we talked about a project that was just south of here that was exact same way. So, I mean, arguably an R1 would be more of a zone correction as opposed to a spot zoning. At the same time, Lord, I hate sticking an R1 in the middle of this C and touching on an R3, but at the same time, I mean, I don't dislike the project. It fits with the neighborhood. It fits with what's actually there, and what is there is much more akin to an R1 than either the C that it is or an R2, I mean, an R3.
Yeah, everything to the west of that property coming into town is essentially being used as an R1. Till you get to Kiamichi, that's right, yeah.
Any other discussion? Clint?
I do agree with what you're saying, Whitney, that it appears as though it would be a spot zone, but I think your term of zoning correction is a good term for that, because it got zoned commercial at some point in our history with just a big red marker and not a lot of thinking about it, probably.
I agree with that line of thinking. I do think it's in the city's best interest to have the more restrictive of R1, and it matches the use as well, so. That is their motion.
I'll make a motion to approve as R1.
The motion is to approve as R1.
I'll
Is there a
second.
There's a second. Please call for a vote.
Commissioner Newsom?
Yes.
Commissioner Horner?
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. 5F, consideration and approval of replat request at 1415 West Mulberry Street.
This is a replat request by the property owner upon the time that he submitted building plans as well. I believe that the issue was he was had a desire to fix a non-conforming and illegal lot in order to build a rental property on the house that was sitting there recently burned down, and he purchased the property with intent of building a rental property. There was a slight mix-up, I think, at the back of the property with the plat, and he was just wanting to bring it up to code and get it legal and conforming.
So the non-conforming didn't have anything to do with use. It was just he had some plat stuff
Yes,
to clean up.
correct. Yeah, he was still gonna be able to, I mean, as far as it was zoned and the size he was gonna be able to build, that wasn't in question. It was just, I think when he did his due diligence on it, he had realized that it wasn't conforming of today's standards and wanted to bring it up to code, so.
But is there something showing the plat? We don't have a
Oh,
plat.
I don't have it. Let me see what I got in here.
Well, I was thinking, what's the problem? But now I see what you're saying. Yeah. Just from my viewpoint, Paul, there's nothing to compare
Yeah.
the old versus the new, so I don't know how to look at it.
I'm not sure I'm understanding what's.
I'm
making it
gonna
not
be honest
conforming.
with you, at the time that this was being discussed, I wasn't fully grasping what we were making, the fuss over. Everything that I have pretty much all looks the same.
That's pretty much the same stuff we have.
And I don't know where the actual issue lies
I'm wondering if he just needed
Drew,
to clean up a
I
survey.
think she might have a copy of.
Oh, no, I mean, does, yeah, I'm curious what the replat would be. If somebody just needed to clean up a survey because of some owner discrepancies, that'd be one thing, but.
Is this an emergency? Is this something that he needs to get done like right away?
He has been waiting a little while in order to start building. Because at the time when I pulled up records, it showed that this was all done before the April '83. So I thought it was gonna be the grandfather and he's good to go, because it wasn't signed and authorized until.
It's a new owner that just bought a house burn, he bought the property.
Yeah. Sure.
Well, he's actually just showing as a point of bearing. So he's just got a point. I think that would typically be what we would see if it was two lots and they're converting it to one. That would be.
Or could we table it till that special meeting? Because I hate to vote on something when we don't know why we're voting on it or what we're voting on. I think we have to do a motion to table.
I move to table this to our special meeting on the 27th at 5:30.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Newsom?
Yes.
Commissioner Horner?
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. 5G, consideration and approval for PUD at Linden Woods.
This is a consideration to approve the next phase 7 of the Lindenwood projects. I believe this phase is going to consist of three units, I believe. Is there 3 buildings though, correct?
2 buildings, one's offset.
Yeah, the offset building. So that's the one I was counting as, yeah. And it'll be one building with 16 units. The offset one will be 16, but kind of 8 offset.
Yeah.
Okay. And it will be to the west of the current phase that is taking place now.
bit of a hard time understanding exactly where this falls. Like they have lots of properties around. I'm having a hard time understanding where this.
I think this map here that I have might help clarify a little better. This is Lindenwood Drive with the current Lindenwoods over here. This is the, right here. This is to the north of that. The phase that they're working on now is right here, and this is the proposed new phase. Yeah, First Street's over here. Yeah, this is where they're currently working at.
So it's on the north side of Lindenwood Drive?
Yes. This is to the west of the current project they have going.
Yeah. Didn't we have some discussions at one point about their need to widen Lindenwood for emergency access? Can Philip speak to that?
This may be a question for the applicant, but what is different from our regular R3 requirements that's making this a planned unit development?
I believe when it was done, and I may butcher this, to be honest with you, it was originally submitted, or even the first phase was supposed to be submitted as a PUD, if that was my understanding, and now they're just trying to correct that or right that with what they're doing now.
Yeah, I think you said the 40 acres.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thomas Tibbetts with Express Development, and I'm also the project manager for the construction side of it. I believe it's just we're trying to build out the 40 acres, so trying to make it all the mixed use work with the Lindenwoods Drive and trying to make that public while keeping everything, the utilities private and all that. So to, I guess, least impact on the city, but give them the street, as far as I understand it.
Okay. If it's okay, I may invite Philip to speak as well. Again, the question is, what is different from our regular R3 requirements that's making this a planned unit development?
I'm not real sure. I think what he's talking about, they want to give the city the streets, which it's apartment complexes where we told them they have to have a master meter for their utilities.
Yep. So I remember when we had the first phases, they requested more narrow streets, and so they had to do planned unit development. They also had a difference in parking, which is why they did a PUD. We talked about in the future that they were going to abide by regular street requirements, and which they did on the very last one.
Yes.
And we had that issue of right there at First in Linden Woods.
About being narrow, the narrow part, yeah.
But I think the commitment was to have everything meet our standard requirements moving forward.
Right.
So what variations do we have if the streets are not different than our requirement?
I'm not sure, so.
And I don't mean to be fussy, but didn't the city take an earlier view that you did not want to accept the streets and did not want to maintain the streets? That you wanted that to remain the responsibility of the apartment complex?
We made it clear that we would not take the utilities into the complex. I'm not sure about the streets.
From my recollection, there was the portion, I think that's the furthest on the east now, that had changes in the size of the streets and parking. They had basically on-street parking. So if I remember discussion, the city was in agreement to take streets to a certain point. And so they were going to do that, and also had requested that everything be master metered from there. But moving forward, there wasn't going to be any of those requests.
When this first started being planned, I wasn't in Public Works, so I know when they came in with I think it was like the second or third, maybe the third phase is where I stepped in, and because they were wanting us to have the utilities in the apartment complex, and we're no longer doing that because you get into awkward situations.
My recollection is it was basically the part of the street that the city agreed to take and maintain, essentially was that first part of Linwood Avenue or whatever that is, that street there, maybe up to that first building line. It was something like that, 60 or 120 feet. I don't remember what it was, but basically where the apartment complex started was really where the city said we're not going any further with
Yeah,
maintenance.
right, where we wasn't gonna take the street farther into the complex. If you do that, then you're fixing parking lots and everything else.
So the city ended up taking, Philip, this is a question, sorry. My understanding is the city ended up taking on Joe Bullard Drive from
Yes.
First Street all the way to, like, through the homes, the
Through
single-family
the-
residence, all the way to the apartment, or
Yes.
right there where that street changes. Is it
To-
named
Yeah, it was.
Thomas Way?
Yes.
Thomas Circle, something like that.
We took it to a stop, I think that stop sign on Thomas Way, up by the apartment complex.
But we did not. Did we take from that first section from First Street of Lindenwood?
Yes.
We did
We've
take
had-
that.
we have taken
So
that.
even though that was more narrow, that was the compromise to get
Yeah.
the master meter, et cetera.
Et cetera,
And
yeah, getting the master
repair
meter.
the streets.
Yes.
Right. Whitney, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah.
But from Olivia, so on Lindenwood, from Olivia east, we're gonna continue that street as normal requirements.
Yes, and we've taken over everything out there except for from the stop sign on Thomas Way into the apartment complex. They've done everything we've agreed to on the utilities and everything else.
Philip, the property north of this, that where Gale Farrell dead ends into First, is that when it goes west of First, is that Gale Farrell, or is that just a private?
At Gale Farrell, it dead ends into there's a apartment complex there.
So that parking and road in front of those apartment complexes on the west side of Gale Farrell or not, or I mean, sorry, the east side of Gale Farrell or not, that's not a city street?
No.
Okay.
No, not inside that apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was curious because it looks like it's gonna, this new phase is gonna at least border that. So I didn't know if that was gonna be another, basically the two emergency access points to this whole subdivision or this whole project are Lindenwood, which we know is, unless they widened it, it wasn't as wide as it needed to be, correct?
At one point it
Okay.
wasn't.
So they have widened it, okay.
Yeah.
And then Joe Bullard, which has that interesting, it has that big mouth out at first, but
Right.
But then
Then it kind of narrows down, yes. Like I said, we made some compromise and did take over some of those
Okay.
streets, so.
So I guess I'm gonna circle back to the original question. I don't understand why this is a PUD. I mean, I don't know the difference between what's requested here and just our three requirements. Can the applicant answer that?
I can't at this time, it's been a couple months now.
It's been a year.
I'm not sure if it's just this phase in particular more than the general use of the entire property. 'Cause what did we do on the first 3 phases?
The first phase was a plan unit development because you asked for some things that were different than our normal requirements.
So I think it has to do with the meters being, because each phase is its own, owner. So I think it has to do with that. You have to split up each lot into each, these 32 units. If that makes sense. So all the other 5 buildings that were currently under construction, those are all each their own lot. And so I believe that's why we had to do the PUD, to make all that work with the meters, the 2-inch meters or whatever we agreed to. Instead of doing the big one for all the buildings that we can't do, we did the 2-inch for each different phase, for each building.
Okay.
It's I understood it.
So the discussions that I was a part of, I think we had agreed that there were not gonna be any additional requests outside of normal R3 requirements, so.
I wasn't there for that one. I believe Ryan Hackett was.
Yeah, it was Ryan Hackett that was here.
Because there's been a number of, items that came up later, that we adopted as a part of the plan unit development that was unintentional. And so, to avoid making that mistake again, we came to the agreement that that was not gonna be the case.
On our project in
Yes.
particular? Do you know which items you're speaking of? Which ones did you not mean to include or accept?
There were some of the parking issues on, I think it was phase 2, the one on the east. Some of the street widths was different. Some of the metering.
Of the townhomes? Is that what you said?
Is it the townhome?
No, it was more of the apartments
That are currently built or being built?
that are existing.
Okay, yeah, I believe.
So earlier phases.
We're making those meters private.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that concession that we made?
Yes, yes,
and
that,
the
that.
meter vault for all of that, making that, master metered instead of having the 20 that are there.
Individual meters.
But there's been things that we needed to correct on each PUD, so moving forward, the discussion was there wouldn't be any need for one, because we're just gonna meet the R3 requirement, so I'm not sure what the request is for. What's the change?
I believe just so we can build and have the 1 meter for the buildings.
So here's my summary of your questions, or what I'm thinking, or what I'm trying to understand. My comment on this particular item in general was, what is the PUD? I mean, we're shown a preliminary plat document that really doesn't have anything on it. And then we're shown a phase 4 development services plan that doesn't really have anything on it. So if it is a PUD, then what are the additional requirements that we're asking for? I don't feel like we have any information.
The meters, because we're not allowed to do the.
I know that you're telling me that, but there's nothing for me to look at and evaluate.
Okay.
So, I mean, I don't feel like we have any information. And has, like, a lot of times when the city's already reviewed this, we get a document showing every department, street, water, public works, everyone's
Their
looked at it,
reviews on
approved it, or signed off, or hasn't.
And I don't, to my knowledge, I don't believe we've had one of those, pre.
So I just don't feel like we're even there to make a call on this. I mean, yeah, we should have, I mean, it says preliminary, even though our task says final. But, so I just feel like we're not there.
This is still preliminary. We're not even, none of these designs are final yet. This is still preliminary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
We
this is
have
just strictly to consider.
We have a designation that says
Go from
staff
R3 to
recommends approval of
PUD.
final plat, so,
No, we still have treetops on there that we're getting mulched off.
okay.
So this is what our idea is and what we want to do based on what we're currently doing and working with.
I think the idea is probably fine, to be honest with you. I just feel like we don't have anything to evaluate that decision on, other than a preliminary plat. So, and I don't mind the preliminary plat, I just don't feel like there's.
We're not being asked to
what
approve
are
a
we
preliminary
asking-
plat.
What is it that you're asking for that we need to know? Because, again, I just don't think we're there. We need more information. Otherwise, it would just be an R3 development like Mr. Jackson is saying. I don't know what the additional PUD items would be that we need to look at. That was a long summary, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to this. I'm agreeing with Shane. So what do we do to not, I mean, is this another one we want to table? I mean, if we take no action, does it come back? I mean, how do we? how do we get us to where, to where we have something to actually look at so we can understand what we're approving? And I'm gonna, in full disclosure, say that, you know, I own the bulk of the property between Lindenwood and Joe Bullard that fronts First Street. So just for disclosure's sake there, but I'm not opposed to this. I just don't really know, again, what we're being asked to say yes to, because a PUD just, to me, it almost doesn't seem necessary.
I'm not against the project either, just, no.
I mean, I want them to proceed. I just want them to proceed in the right way.
Any other comments? Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against? I guess part of this we can open up for some discussion on, you know, how we proceed. Obviously, we can table for a future, you know, date, you know, if we want to have some of these, you know, questions answered. Typically what we've had with planning and development is there's a list of exceptions, if you will, a list of differences, you know, what you're asking for, and there's a sheet where each of the department heads are signing off on, saying they've reviewed and recommend approval. You know, so we can table, we can take no action, and you guys can come back when you're ready.
Well, if you want to reconsider this, or if you want to give them an opportunity to give you more information, you want to table it.
But there has to be a specific date, so if there's not one at hand,
Right.
we'd have to take no action or vote.
So if you take no action, the ultimate effect is a no vote, because it didn't get approved, so, but it makes it wonky when it gets to city council if you take no action. But my recommendation would be to table it with some future date, maybe where we could get a little more information.
So our regular meetings is the first Tuesday of each month. We also have the special session again on the 27th. So I'll open it up to the developers, see if you have a preference.
I prefer the 27th, but yeah, the sooner the better.
I think it's a question to you guys. Can you get the information that we need, knowing what it is you're asking for, to us by the 27th?
And I make a motion that we table this until the 27th. The meeting's getting longer.
I'll second.
Somebody pick one. We have a motion and a second. Call for a vote, please.
Commissioner Newsom?
Yes.
Commissioner Horner?
Yes.
Commissioner Kerr?
Yes.
Vice Chair Knight?
Yes.
Chairman Jackson?
Yes. Is there any new business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Call for a vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. We're adjourned. Thank you.